what do companies care about? Everybody? Money, maybe? Right? Like, and so if you're not filling that slot, they might not reach out. Alrighty, guys, gals, non-binary pals, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. I do want to say before we get into the topic, if you see this lovely chat right here, they would love to have you join them no matter what they might say in the next few seconds. But I stream every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on Twitch at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I would love to have you. They would love to have you. Again, you can click on the link in the description of the video. It'll take you there. If you want to follow, it's completely free, so it doesn't cost you any money or anything like that. You can just come and hang out and we'll have a good time. Again, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, so today's video that we are going to be going over is from the YouTube channel Eden Loves Life, and as you can see, the name of the video, which I think is very interesting, is I Love Being Fat, ... and that makes losing weight hard. So if you don't know who Eden is, we've actually talked about, I don't know too much about her, but I know a little bit about her. We actually talked about her in the stream actually a long time ago, like the very beginning of me actually starting to stream. She was like one of the first people we ever actually talked about. But so Eden she's been on YouTube for a long time. I know that I think she used to be vegan, and that was a lot of what her channel was about, was kind of being like a plus size vegan person. I believe that she is no longer vegan, but she made this video, and it was sent to me, and so I want to watch it. I've already seen it, but I want to go over it with y'all because I think that there are really interesting points that she makes in this video that I think can relate to me and probably to a lot of y'all as well. All right, so let's go over this lovely video.
Being fat, obese, overweight, whatever you want to say.
Dream team, stick together and make history. Golden Wonderland.
Hey, it's Eden. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today, I have a kind of a serious video, even though I am appearing like a clown in plain clothing currently. So I want to talk to you guys about the epiphany I had about why I don't think I've ever been that serious about losing weight. Now, it's not to say that I don't love living a healthy lifestyle, because I absolutely do. You guys see how I eat. You guys see how much I love fitness, like literally love fitness. I teach group fitness for the Lord's sake, and for your body and your heart health and all of those sakes. But
I'm sorry, I really like she just seems like a really good person. So like I really enjoyed watching this video the first time. But it's really interesting because for her, right, so she is, she would call herself, I think she calls herself fat. Like I think that she's like fine with that. Well, yeah, the title of the video is I Love Being Fat. And so, but she is also very active. So she teaches yoga. She moves a lot. She does a lot of movement, right? And so I think that that's a very interesting perspective to come from, because there are a lot of people that are, and she brings this up, but that are her size that can't do those things, that aren't able to do those things, right? So again, just kind of an interesting kind of way to think about things.
I talked about how I don't have like this why. Everyone has this why, like they want to be out of pain, or they want to fit into one airplane seat and want to avoid that embarrassment. They want to be around for their kids. They want to lower their A1C. These really soul-tying reasons as to why they want to lose weight. And I don't have that, because I've always been very confident in who I am. I grew up as a competitive cheerleader. I always had a lot of friends. I had no problem pulling the guys because she's fine. I had a great experience being fat, and I know that it's different for everyone, and everyone's body's different too. Like if you didn't grow up, if you were big since childhood like I was, and you didn't grow up in sports, your pain level may be way different than mine. You may not be a person that can hop around and jump up and down, and I'll put some videos of me being me here. You may not be able to do all of that stuff at like my same size, and everyone's experience is so different. But I had read that book, Chasing.
So I think that it's It is really important, and this is something that I feel like a lot of people just don't do when they make videos, just YouTubers in general, I feel like, is people are so like, this is my experience, and then because that's their experience, they assume everyone feels the same way, right? They're like, everyone must feel this way, so I'm just gonna talk and be like an authority for everybody. When, like, I think it's totally valid and totally fine for you to come from your experience and share your experience and what that means to you and how maybe you can relate to some people. But I think it's important to also understand that just because something is your experience, that definitely does not mean that everyone else is going to have the same experience. And on top of that, that means that not everyone is going to agree with you, and that's okay, right? That there's nothing wrong with people not agreeing with you. If they're attacking you and stuff like that, that's when that's not cool.
Cupcakes, I didn't read it. I listened to it on Audible. This is not sponsored by Audible, but I will put a link down below so that you can get it for free if you want to try out Audible for a free month and listen to Chasing Cupcakes. And at the end of the book, she gives this link to her website, and there's like 200 questions to ask yourself when you are talking yourself out of doing things that align with your goals, whether that's financial goals, weight loss goals, and whatever. So I read through the questions and I was like, that's something that I could implement in my life, like picking out like 10 to 15 of these questions to ask myself when I do want to talk myself out of going to the gym, or I do eat in my maintenance calories for a few weeks because I'm like, oh, this weight loss thing can wait. Because like I said, once I lost my 50 pounds, even in my I lost 50 pounds video, I was like, half of me wants to be like, see you later, I'm fine, I'm happy now, like I feel like myself again. But I am curious what it would be like to be in a smaller body, and I'm a big advocate of like, you don't know what you don't know until you know, and maybe I don't know that I would feel better or lighter or faster on my feet or whatever it is, unless I lost more weight. But after reading,
it's interesting to me because I know that we went over one of her videos, and maybe it was that video. My memory is not that good. I think that was over a year ago now, but I don't remember exactly why she decided that she wanted to lose 50 pounds. But it's clear that she did get to a size where she was like, okay, this is not comfortable for me, right? This is not the size that I want to be. And deciding to lose weight from there, I think, that's obviously her decision. But again, I think it's really interesting because I think that if you don't, like, not everyone that loses weight needs to get to some crazy lean level and like has to be, 150 pounds and freaking 7% body fat. Like, I don't think that's necessary. And I would argue that for a lot of people, getting down to that point usually ends up doing more harm than good anyways, right? So I really think that this is an interesting kind of look into someone's mind that has lost 50 pounds, right? That might have 50 more or less, or I don't know exactly how much more that they might want to lose, but is it entirely necessary? And would that make them healthier? Especially, I don't know exactly how she's doing it, but especially if you are doing something to lose the weight that is inherently not healthy, is it even worth doing it anymore, right? It's just very interesting to me.
Reading that book and hearing her say something along the lines of, you don't realize you're addicted to the attention your problems get you, or you're addicted to having problems because of the attention it gets you. And usually I think that kind of stuff is annoying, but I was like, that actually does kind of resonate, because
I mean, there are certainly people that enjoy being the one that is struggling all the time and likes to be like, oh, I'm working so hard and all these things that are happening, right? I think we all know people that are kind of like that. Attention seekers, maybe.
My problem, being fat, obese, overweight, whatever you want to say, it has gotten me attention, and always positive attention.
This right here is the most interesting part of the video. Listen to what is being said. Because again, she says it herself, and I think that is, one, very self-reflective, but she is being very real right here, and I thought this is just very interesting to me.
In a way, it's made me feel very special my entire life. I feel like I've always been the outlier of the fat girls.
So I love this because I can relate to this so hard. So when I was at my biggest, I used to skateboard, and I would literally be able to ride down the street, and I could see people in their cars like looking at me, and like maybe they were just like, oh, it's a fat guy. But I'm in my head, I was definitely, maybe they weren't even thinking this, but I thought this in my head, so it made me feel good. They would be like, holy crap, that fat dude is skating so well, I can't believe it. Or I played DDR, you know, the little beep boop dee 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 dee, right? So like the little arrows on the ground, and I played on the hardest level, and I was really good. And people would be like, how is this fat guy doing this? Another example was I played drums, and I lived for showing up at gigs, setting up my drum set, the sound people looking at me, being like, oh, this guy's gonna be very low energy, he's not gonna be able to keep up, like, and then after the show come up to me and say, holy crap, dude. I literally had one guy say, you're like a white Questlove, because Questlove is like a bigger black guy, right? And I remember that made me feel so good, because I was like, I am like, again, like she said, I am an outlier to what people think I would actually be like. And I mean, oh man, it was, I just know exactly what she's talking about. I know exactly what this is like.
And that feels good. So part of me wonders, like, I know I'll still be me and I'll still be a bad bitch and all that stuff afterwards, but part of me wonders, like, what will make me special then outside of my weight? We're gonna dig a little deeper. We're probably gonna cry. Get your tissues, girls and guys and non-binary friends. So, like, growing up, I was in cheer at school, and then I joined a competitive squad because my coach decided to start his own competitive team, and I joined that team. And I had to skip one of my practices per day at my regular cheer in order to go to All-Stars. And All-Stars training is so hard. And even in high school, you guys know I was anywhere between 230 to 250 pounds. So I'm at this point like 38 pounds heavier than I was in high school, so not a huge difference. And I remember going back to my regular cheer squad, and we were in our jump lines, which is like single file lines. Everyone does 2 sets of jumps at the front, and then you go to the back, the next person does it. Like, you're all jumping at the same time, but like who's at the front changes, and the coach kind of watches your form and everything like that. And I remember doing my jump and the girl behind me going, whoa. And I was like, what? And she's like, your jumps are so high. Like doing a toe touch. Like, my jump was like a good foot above everyone else's jump, even though I was much heavier. And she's like, do it again. So like during the next rotation of jumps, she had like 2 other people stop to watch me jump. And they're all like, oh my gosh, can you tumble too? And I'm like, my tumbling's okay, but like I wasn't ever the best tumbling. You guys know I did hurt myself tumbling. That's why I have hip problems now. But my round offs were like so freaking powerful. My bounce at the end was so powerful because of the training in All-Stars. And like that like boosted my ego a lot, to have way thinner people looking at me being like, oh my gosh, like you are a powerhouse. And that's really followed me into adulthood, like always having super hot boyfriends, and people saying, oh, you know, fat girls don't date, guys don't like fat girls. I've never had that problem, and TBH, most of the guys that I've met have been at the gym. I think they like that contrast of like big muscly and a little squish, you know? So I've always like gotten guys and girls. I've always had really attractive girlfriends and boyfriends, and like that made me feel good, like, cause oh, that sounds so fat phobic. And
so it's interesting because this is very, I think like with anybody, we seek outside validation for us, right? So it's like we try and find reasons why we're still doing okay. Like, and I remember I definitely didn't have that problem or non-problem. Like when I was bigger, it goes more into, it's not just because I think I was bigger, but like I never had a girlfriend when I was overweight. It never happened, right? But was it just because I was overweight? Or like it seems very clear in this video where she's explaining things. She was very confident. She seemed like she was, she was like doing things. I was the opposite of that when I was at my heaviest. Like I wasn't confident. I wasn't super fun to be around. Like I especially when it came to like the opposite sex or whatever, like it just wasn't going to happen for me. So it's just interesting hearing a different perspective here.
Rude, but like I felt like like I was a hot fat girl, and I remember tweeting like probably when I was 19, like, God made me fat because if I was skinny and this beautiful, it would be over for you bitches. So like that's always made me feel special. And then even into like YouTube, and do not take this as saying that I am not talented and I am not worthy, because I know all of those things. But when it comes to YouTube, a lot of the opportunities that I have gotten have been because of my weight. So when I lose weight.
So I think that right there is incredibly just very, you can tell it's just very real. Like she says it herself, right? A lot of the opportunities I have had is because of my weight. Just full stop. She doesn't even add any qualifiers to it. It's like, I know that because of my weight, because like the thing though is like, is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't know, because everyone has a thing. You have to kind of have a thing that makes you different, especially on YouTube, because if you're just another whatever, there are hundreds of thousands of that floating around, right? So again, it is very interesting hearing her say that.
Wait, well, I know I'll continue to get those opportunities, but in my brain, I think that maybe subconsciously I feel like I won't get as many opportunities because I'm not the plus size yoga instructor anymore.
So right here, I mean, I don't mean to sound mean or anything, but like you might be right. That's the thing, is like, that's when it does kind of become dangerous. And like, I know that she seems to be happy where she's at and like whatever, but like, this is why I talk about the dangers of when we talk about people that are their whole online persona is about being plus size, about being, Haze, health at every size or whatever. And so if that person decides that they want to lose weight, everything that they have built might crumble and collapse. It really might happen. And so like, I mean, I'm not, and I don't mean to say this to sound rude, but like, you might not be getting as many opportunities, because especially if like, and she goes on to explain it, if a lot of the opportunities you have are because you are the bigger person, you might not get those opportunities anymore because you're no longer filling that slot for those companies. Especially if we're talking about companies that, what do companies care about? Everybody? Money, maybe? Right? Like, and so if you're not filling that slot, they might not reach out. And that's something that you have to think about. And it's kind of weird sounding, but it is true.
Like I got certified in yoga. That was like really greatly received because I was more representation in the wellness space of people with larger bodies, and I love that, and that gave me the ability to travel and teach other people with larger bodies, and also to be representation of plus size girls doing like balancing poses and more.
And I want to make this clear, because I know I kind of brought this up about like people who are like plus size, but this goes with literally anything on the internet, right? This isn't just a plus size creator problem. This is anything. Like if I were to rebrand myself and start talking about stuff that has nothing to do with any of this stuff, I know that most people wouldn't watch. That's just how it is. Like if someone that is a skateboarding channel decides they want to start making content about camping, people probably aren't going to, it's just how it works. Like when you become something on the internet, that's what people expect from you. And like you can kind of deviate and maybe slowly over time change things, but you can't go from I'm going to do this to like, bam, I'm now doing something completely different. That's just how it works. And so that's why I think it's really important that when you find something and you start doing it, hopefully you really enjoy doing that thing. Because if you decide to deviate or do something different, the chances of a good majority of your following going along with that is very slim.
Advanced poses beyond the beginner level. So I know that what kind of have boosted my numbers over time, seeing that ability. And I'm laughing because I'm like, wow, that sounds ableist. I'm just coming off real bad in this video. But you guys know that's not my heart and that's not what I mean. But I feel like that's afforded me a lot of opportunities. And like, I was top 10 yoga teachers in Healthline this year, but that was because they needed a plus size girl, you know? And as much as I would love to think that I'm the best yoga teacher in the world and I'm just so talented, I know that I have a very powerful practice. I know that I hold space that's loving and welcoming for you all. But if I was just another thin yoga teacher teaching on YouTube, there's hundreds, thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of thin yoga teachers on YouTube. I wouldn't have been mentioned in Elle Australia this year if I was just another one of those thin yoga teachers. Like,
now, while this is interesting because like I do, while I do agree with what she's saying to a certain extent, I think at some point, one, there's like a little bit of imposter syndrome, I think, going on, which I can definitely relate to. But you do have to understand that the things that make you different, there's nothing like that's not a bad thing, right? Like, because you are different, that's why you got chosen. Yes, that's might be true, but it doesn't change the fact that that is the thing that makes you different. But it's just interesting because this thing that makes her different, she might not be super happy with it and maybe doesn't want to continue being that thing, right? Being overweight or whatever. Again, it's just very interesting.
I don't feel like that's true. Like, I don't think I would have had that opportunity. And I know that I'm sometimes the diversity pick and I'm sometimes the body representation pick. I'm always like the only plus size one on those lists. And I do think so much of my success has been because I was plus size, and not because I'm a plus size influencer or whatever. It's just because I've always been plus size. So like, but I was always empowered by like my mom and my family to live my life regardless of my size. So I never really had like that complex that I think a lot of fat people have. So I've been able to be outgoing and, you know, really do the things that I wanted to do. But I do wonder, like, if you're just one of everybody else, like, what's next? And I know that's, like I said, I know that's not true because I know that I'm unique. I know I'm special. I know that I've built relationship with brands that will carry on. I know I've built relationship with you guys that will carry on. But I really do think that that's been like my mental block. My mental block is I like being fat because it makes me feel special and it makes me feel different and it makes me feel like the exception amongst a group as well. So that's all I really came here to say today.
So that's pretty much everything that she says. I think that, again, I've said it a million times, it's very interesting. I would say, regardless of anything, I think the most important thing is to do what you think will make you happy and feel like you are doing what you actually want to do. I think at the end of the day, regardless of what might be the most lucrative or might make you the most money, those things are important. And of course, like, money is important, but you have to do what makes you happy first, because that will radiate to everything. I personally don't, I can't say, oh, you would get more attention, you would get less. I think it would be interesting to see someone that has lost weight, you know, doing the yoga thing. But I can understand where she's coming from, you know, feeling like she has had all of these opportunities based on the fact that she is a person of color and is fat, right? And like feeling like if she takes away one of those things, will I start losing these opportunities. I think that's a very real, and it might not be super relatable to a lot of people watching this, but I know as someone that is an influencer in the public space, I understand that it is having those things that make you different, right? Me and my loose skin, all of that stuff, like those things definitely afford you opportunities that maybe wouldn't happen because you are different from other people. But all in all, I thought this was a very insightful video, and one that I feel like while we might not be able to relate to exactly what she's going through, we all have, you know, especially when we are bigger. Like I know a lot of people, a lot of dudes, this is something a lot of dudes come up with is like, oh, I'm afraid to lose weight because I'm like the funny fat guy. And I don't know what I'll be if I lose weight. Will I be the funny fat guy anymore? No, right? Will I even be funny anymore? I don't know. That's something that a lot of people deal with. I hear that all the time. And so I know that this is something that a lot of people struggle with. So, but all in all, I thought that this was a really good video, very real, very raw, and we appreciate you sharing it.